everybody. And guess what time it is? That's right. It's Christmas cards with the Cricut. Today's card, which is day 1, looks like this. I decided we'd start off with a simple gatefold card. So come on and join me, and I'm going to show you how I made this card. Okay, everybody, so I'm going to get started and bring up the supplies for the very first card of the series. And I've decided to bring back the gatefold card for the very first card, since when I did the Thanksgiving cards, everyone seemed to like the gatefold card. So now, the cardstock that I'm using is by Recollections, and it is their precious metal cardstock, and it looks like this. And sorry for that glare. And my cardstock measures 8.5 by 5.5, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to score it at 2 1/8 and 6 3/8. Now, if you have the Score Pal, which looks like this, there are markings on the score pad that will assist you in making a gatefold card. And the markings are a little dot that is located right here. And you would just score on that dot, or where that dot is, and then you'd come over to the other side and score at the dot again. So now I'm going to zoom in just so you can see what I mean by the little dot. So bear with me for a minute. Okay. So here is the dot for the 2 1/8 side, and then here is the dot right here for the 6 3/8. So you would just go ahead and score at that point. And now I'm going to zoom back, so I'm sorry if I'm making anyone dizzy. Okay, so then once you've done that, you're going to make sure you go ahead and flatten down your score marks, because you want your card to lay flat. And I just take my bone folder and just go along there. And now I have my gatefold. So that makes it pretty easy if you're not good at measuring, which I'm not, so that's why I bought the Score Pal, among other reasons. So let's go ahead and bring up the rest of the supplies. And we're going to add our panels. Now, the cardstock that I'm using for the panels is a cardstock by DCWV, and it's in this paper stack here called the Christmas Combo Stack. And I purchased this stack last year at the end of the year when Joann's was having their Christmas paper 50% off. So I went ahead and bought it so I would have it for this year. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and I just want to line up my paper here and just measure it out. I want to make sure I get it the way I want it. And that looks about right the way I cut it. Now these pieces measure 2 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And what I basically do is I just go ahead and measure out 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then I just cut it in half. So those are my two side panels. So let's go ahead and get some tape on both of our panels so that we can add them to the card. So I'm going to get out my ATG gun, and it looks like that I am losing my voice. I hope I'm not getting another cold. I just got over one that turned into a sinus infection, so hopefully that's not what's happening again, because I really need to get all these cards done. So we'll get our tape around on our edges, and then make sure we get our tape in the middle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with my right side facing me, but then when you flip it over, it'll actually be the left side. But first I want to make sure that I'm lining these up the right way. So that would be the right way. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my panel down like so. And I did get it a little higher up than I wanted it, but let's see if we can pull this up without damaging the paper, which it did come up for me. So I'm going to try that again. And I want to get this lined up. And sometimes that ATG gun doesn't allow you to pull it up, but I was lucky in this case. So there we go. So now let's go ahead and add our second panel. And I'm going to close that down real quick just so I can measure. And it looks like I need to be facing this way. And actually, because this is going to be covered, it really doesn't matter, but I try to line it up just so I can make it look even. So there we are. We have both of them on there now. So now we're ready to add our next set of layers. So what I've done is I've cut out another piece of cardstock from that Precious Metal by Recollection, and this piece measures 3 inches by 4 inches, and that is going to lay on top right here. And then I have my next layered piece, which is also some of the Precious Metal by Recollections, and this piece measures 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and that's going to lay right there on top. And then I have my tree, and we'll talk about where the tree comes from and which Cricut cartridge it comes from. Right now I'm just laying everything out so I can look at it and make sure this is what I want and how I want it to look. And it is. So we're going to start first with our top layer and the tree. Now the tree is from the Art Philosophy cartridge, which in the handbooks look like this. And this is on page 27 of the manual. No, I'm sorry, it's not page 27. Okay, I'm sorry about that. It is on page 31. And this is the tree right here. And then we're going to cut the top layer as well. So now I've cut this out at 3 3/4 inches. So now if you're using your Gypsy, you're going to go ahead and we first want to bring up the Art Philosophy cartridge. And the way I bring it up is I clicked on my image, and then I'm going to press down with my stylus, and then I'm going to hit the Close to My Heart. So now we're at the Close to My Heart cartridge, and it is key number 11. So we'll go to key number 11, and it looks like this. So I've gone ahead and cut that out at 3 1/4 inches in some cream color cardstock, which looks like this, and I've popped this up with some foam dots. So now my top layer, to get your top layer, what you're going to do on your Gypsy, and the top layer looks like this in the handbook. So to get this on your Gypsy, you're going to hit your shift key. And I'm sorry if I didn't say that before. In order to get to the tree itself, you'll have to hit your shift key and then key 11. But to get to the layer on top, you'll hit your shift key, your basic icon layer is what gives you the top layer of the tree, and it looks like this. So now those were all cut out at 3 3/4 inches. And then once I had them cut out, and my top layer, the cardstock that I used to cut that out is from the DCWV 'Tis the Season cardstock. And I also picked this up at Joann's when I picked up the other paper pack at the end of the season last year. So what I also did was for the tree trunk, I used the new Tim Holtz Distress ink, and it's called Evergreen Bow or Bow. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but this is part of the I think Christmas season line, and it's only going to be out until for the Christmas season. There's no re-inkers for this, so I have to make sure that I keep the top on that. And then I took my iRock tool, which looks like this, and I added some little gems on the tree. So now before I lay this down on my top layer, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take my Rick Rack and get that on the top layer. And I'm just going to take and run some tape along here. And you could probably use glue as well, but I'm just going to use my ATG gun for now. And it looks like I didn't get any on there, so let's try that again. And as I said, I probably should have just went ahead and used glue. And I think also the other reason why I didn't get any on there is my ATG gun is about to run out of tape. So we'll just get this little piece right here on here. It's enough to stick. And then I'm going to come around and I'm going to use the cheater method and take my tape and just put a piece of tape going across like so. Then I want to make sure I got that lined up even on the other side, which it is. And then once again I'm going to take a piece of tape and add that on the back there. So now I'm ready to go ahead, and before I lay my tree down, I'm going to go ahead and adhere my top layer to the bottom layer. I think it'll be easier to get the tape on if I do it that way. So let's see if I have enough tape. And I am out, so let me go ahead and refill my ATG gun, and I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I'm back, and she's all ready to go. So let's continue with getting some tape on our top layer. And then we're going to go ahead and add this to the bottom layer. So there I have it on there, and I've got it lined up where I want it. So now, before I go ahead and add my tree, I'm going to add this layer to the card. So now the reason why I'm doing that is because we're going to have to put tape on this side of the card to form the gatefold. And I don't want to add the tree on there just yet because I have this popped up on some foam dots, and I don't want to have to try to get around and get the tape on the back of there because it's so bulky. So we're just going to line up where we want the top layers to go on the card. And then I'm going to take a pencil and lightly mark so that I can see where I want it. And I'm just going to bring this close to me just for a second so I can get this lined up where I want it. You would think by the time I've made so many of these gatefold cards I could kind of judge without having to put the pencil mark, but I'd rather go ahead and do that anyway, just in case. So, now that I have the pencil mark on there, we're going to go ahead and flip it over, and we're going to add our tape to this side. And remember, you're only going to go halfway, because you're going to need to be able to open up the card. So, I'm going to find my pencil mark, and this time I made it so light that I can barely see it, but I think I've got it in the right spot. And then I'm just going to go ahead and press down, like so. So now we can go ahead and add our tree. And we're going to place our tree right there. So let's just go ahead and get the foam tape backing off. And then we can just go ahead and we'll add our tree. Okay, so now I've gotten my backing off the foam tape. And I'm going to line this up right here in the middle. And then I'm just going to go ahead and press down. So now the last thing we're going to add on the front of the card is I'm going to go ahead and add this little star at the top of the tree. Now this star, this was actually a button, and I just clipped off the back and took my Dremel tool to sand it down a little bit. And then I also went ahead and added some of the Martha Stewart glitter just to give it a little shine. So now I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the back of the star, and then we're just going to add it to the top of the tree. And then I'm going to press down. I kind of want to get that lined up in the center there. So there you have it. There's the front of the card. So now we're ready to add our greeting in the inside of the card. And the greeting that I'm going to be putting in there is just a little simple greeting. And I'm going to add that using the other part of the set to the Christmas series by Tim Holtz, the Distress Ink. This one is called Festive Berries. So I'm going to be using that 3 set that he has for Christmas pretty much in most of the cards that I'm going to be doing in the inside sentiment. So I'm going to get some ink on there, and I'm using my stamping press again by Fiskars to add my sentiment. And I'm just going to press that down right in the center of the card and then press down. And I forgot to use my mat, but I still got good coverage. And I had a couple of questions regarding the foam mat that I use, which looks like this. This is actually a piece of fun foam, this 6-inch thick fun foam. And I picked this up at Michael's, but Joann's also carry it as well. So that's it, everybody. That is day 1 of the Christmas cards with the Cricut. Thanks for watching, everybody. And don't forget to come back for day 2. Bye.